My friends, I hope you're doing fantastic, and I'm excited being here with you. As you know, it's usually good time together to talk about life, to talk about responsibilities, to talk about hobbies, but also to talk about resilience. And I try to bring you some thunder for these sessions, just generally something practical that can help you with your challenge. And if you look behind me, there are quite some books that I'm reading, and there are a few of that I have gifted, and some of them that I'm still reading. Like one of the CEO test, or recently I'm reading from a Harvard scientist how to measure your life, and I feel in general now, especially in these turbulent times, because many people try to talk about what's happening in the world, and I try to avoid it as much as possible, just because I feel I don't have enough information to really portray the truth. But would I have enough information to portray my own truth in my own life and how I've been struggling and how I've been trying to figure out, what's next for me? And these sessions, as you know, are called the shots of inspiration. And I was just having a big party and, getting really out there and celebrating different occasions. And the thing is, many times in life, we go through these ups and downs. We go through these ebbs and flows, and we try to figure out where to go next. And for that, often we need to look into our physiology. We need to look at our physical goals. How much energy do we have? How much energy do we want to put out in the world? And that means also perhaps following some of our passions. But generally, last month for me has been really much about killing some of my initiatives that I've been doing for many years now, like a mastermind, and trying to kill some of these things that I usually do quite some time, and really try to think, what's the 2.0 level of me? And I'm very good at consistency, and I think one area of consistency in my life is energy. And I want to use this session as well to show you a little bit behind the scenes, not to always tell you, hey, I got it all figured out and you have to do this, you have to do that, but also tell you that, like you, I'm struggling, like you, I'm having my own doubts, and that, I'm using a different frameworks. One thing that, I mentioned to you before is books. I try to listen to podcasts as well, which I also see as books. Podcast from Mel Robbins lately, and she has written a book, Let Them, and also different type of currently going through some MBA program, because I used to study in the past a lot, or at a university probably 10 plus years ago, but I feel like some principles might be rehearsed, and especially the rise of AI, things being put into perspective. I used to write a lot as well. I used to write a blog for 5 years on Medium, and I really enjoyed it, and it had some popularity. But I'm also thinking, what is it that I want to do? Because I'm, doing these videos, I'm doing podcasts, but at the same time I'm doing these different masterminds and helping people, get clients, etc. And now I'm thinking, there are many people like us who try to figure out what to do. And for me, it often comes down to following my own advice. And that comes to, if you see the QR code, that will most likely lead you to the video or some podcast about the principles. Because I have in COVID, when COVID hit, and that's maybe a little bit equivalent to what's happening now. When COVID hit, I felt also a little bit, and not just me, right, everybody, a little bit lost, a little bit all over the place, trying to figure out what to do next, how to position oneself. And now, a couple of years down the road, we go through the same thing, as the whole world is kind of at halt, if you will, due to the tariffs, due to some wars in different parts of the world, due to crazy politics and crazy political situation. But also at the same time, we have our own life, right? We try to slot that in, and for that, I usually come back to principles. I come back to what really matters. And that means, how well is your physiology? What you can do in your life, you can always be worried. You can always be worried about what's going on outside, what's going on, maybe sometimes even in your own family. But what you can control is your physiology. And for me, being fit, it's one of the best ways how to predict the different success and different outcomes in other parts of my life. That doesn't mean that I will always be successful in every area of my life, but generating energy, it's amazing. I just recently purchased a weight scale called Hume, and it's called HumePod, and you probably heard about it. I think it's a company from UK, and it measures your skeletal muscle, your body fat, your age, your biometrics, different things, but it also shows you your metabolic age. So your metabolic age is pretty much how well your body is optimized physiologically and how old you are really physiologically based on the data they put it and compare to different age groups. So in my case, I'm now, 10 years younger, which is amazing. And I'm really proud of that. Just want to put it in the perspective, right? And we started this whole discussion about struggle. We started how going from, Matteo 1.0 to Matteo 2.0. And for me, Matteo 2.0 is also more into energy, right? More into optimizing and fine tuning the energetic level. That means also my health levels, fasting, every week or every day, pretty much doing some intermittent fasting, but also every week I'm trying to fast at least 20 to 24 hours. Usually that falls for me on a Monday. So I really try to optimize my longevity. And sometimes, especially when you look at this outside circumstances, we tend to be a little bit bamboozled and baffled by what's happening. And again, going back to what you can control how you are going to be in 10 years. And I don't mean that you will know what will be happening. What you can control is how you will be feeling. And better you feel about yourself, more energy you have, better outcomes you will achieve in your life. So I just want to put it out there that physiology as a principle, because we started this discussion about principles, and I urge you to check the audiobook if you want on Spotify. And there is also an implementation guide, also as an audiobook. So it can help you actually to go through these principles. And there are 12 principles. I will not go through all of them, but some of these things can really help you in this time on these times when the life is a little bit all over the place, when the moving parts and pieces are at against you, and you don't know whether you should maybe quit and what you should do, and you're trying to figure out what is the next right action of integrity for you. It often comes down to your physiology. When you're charged, when you go for a bike ride during a lunch or after work, or wake up early in the morning, do some high interval training, you tap into this neurochemistry that you can do actually more with your life. And I feel as well that even if, as I'm saying this, trying to preach this and optimizing my health as another principle, or trying to look at my goals, another principle, looking at what type of groups I need to be and people I need to be surrounded by, and that alone can really bring a lot of kind of help in what you're doing, right? It can help you with the fact that sometimes it is okay to be uncertain, and it's a period of time. Another principle that I'm writing about, or was writing about, is gratitude. And I noticed today, for example, a lot of the stuff that is happening out there that might be sometimes a bit difficult to act on things, is really to be grateful for what we have. Sometimes I think recently I had a friends chat, and then you think about the perspective, and it puts some things into perspective in terms of how well you are navigating your own personal space, how well you're navigating your work, and that there is no war, and that you think about future, and that you think about like I said, I went through a couple of these special milestones like celebrations and parties, and it reminded me that my life is great, and that there is always something that can be better, and that can be optimized, and that can bring more thunder and more spark into my life. But generally it goes back to the first principle: I'm healthy, I'm also taking care of my thoughts, I'm taking care of my mindset, right? I'm thinking, okay, what type of person I want to be. Do I want to be a person of integrity? Do I want to help people? Do I want to pay it forward? And that's why I feel when you struggle, as if one framework that I want to give you is really this ebook and this implementation guide, or this framework of principles. Just go back to that, visit that, and really listen to it. And if you want the implementation guide or the ebook, just let me know. I can happy to send it to you. But I tend to find that in my last years of struggle, this was really helpful. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is really surround yourself with smart people. And that means also trying to figure out who can really give you some useful advice. Sometimes it means that you will need to reach out to somebody that you don't know. Sometimes it can be that there is somebody in your life, like a coach or a mentor. Ask them for help. And if you're at a spot, reach out to me. I'm having these conversations on pretty much daily basis with some people who ask me to be accountable for them, and it helps to have these sessions and some sounding board for your challenges. The third thing I would also encourage you to do is take some time for yourself. My initial inclination when I stopped some of these projects, and I felt really terrified on one side, but at the same time thinking what is next for me, is to really kind of take a step back and give yourself the grace to acknowledge what you have done for the last decade. I don't think the challenge is that the projects we have tried and they didn't turn out to be as we wanted. That's not a challenge. The challenge is that sometimes we lose kind of belief in ourselves that we can do what we want to do, because maybe sometimes we are all over the place, or sometimes couple projects just didn't work out. But I have seen recently this graphic where you see here many balls, and there is a big hole in the earth, and these balls are some type of effort that fall and then eventually fill up the hole, and one project actually bounce on the other side. And I don't want to say that you need to find one project that will be successful, that will make you rich or whatever that is. But sometimes, regardless of what you're trying, your passions, your anything, your hobbies can be tiring just because you've been doing it long enough. So don't beat yourself up when you don't have immediate answer, and you need to step back and really look at what you have done, assess, and then get moving. Don't rush into some things. At the same time, and I'm saying it because I like to take action, and I'm not really comfortable at sitting and doing nothing. But at the same time, listening and taking it all in and deciding on your own terms where you want to spend the next years of your energy, because that's usually what it requires. It requires some type of effort, some type of consistency, and that's where you need to kind of guide yourself through it. And the final point that I want to give you in this humble time together is, don't beat yourself up. I know that this is the journey, and I want to encourage you to play the long game. I try to remind myself, because I tend to be impatient with many things, and also in this period when I'm trying to figure out and try to write down, okay, Mateo 2.0, that means improving these skills, that means trimming my physique even more, that means maybe taking the year as it is, not beating myself up when the success is not coming to me as it usually does. It's really about reinventing myself. And I would encourage you to do the same, regardless of the industry. Maybe in your industry, everything is turning, everything is going well. But if I'm guessing and might be guessing right, you might be also in similar situation, just because many people I talk to and many clients, many potential friends or acquaintances going through this transition, and everybody's a little bit at a halt or stall, trying to wait it out and see what's happening on an economical basis, on country basis, on different levels. So do really encourage yourself to keep going, and to also invest this year in yourself. Don't stop. Don't be frozen by the inaction. That's what I didn't want to say before. There's a difference between not taking action deliberately just because you know that you want to have a couple options lined up and decide which best option is for you, and then just jumping and just not taking action at all just because you're afraid. We all are afraid, but there is a difference between being afraid and performance. Sometimes having butterflies in your stomach, just like me when I'm recording these videos, or when I'm speaking in front of audiences. It is just the dedication that we need to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, and also just do it anyway. And sometimes it means going beyond the comfort zone, going beyond our natural abilities, because the version 2.0 of you requires for you to ponder, to reflect now, and to line up those options next to each other and to say, this is the option I want to pursue. This is the option maybe less favorite. This could be interesting. This aligns with me, and this doesn't align so much. There are many opportunities. I really believe that there are many buses going by when you're waiting on the bus stop. Just take the right one for you, and don't beat yourself up if you step into the one that doesn't really seem to be so great, two bus stops away. Just get out on the next bus stop and take the right for you. And in the end, when you do that consistently enough, you will figure out what next steps to take. So I would encourage you to really focus on going back to the principles. Maybe you will like my principles, maybe you will not like it, but I would encourage you, maybe you received it from someone who sent it to you, pay it forward, send it to somebody else. This is my mission, to spread this positivity, spread these vibes to people and encourage them to, do their best in their own life with their own circumstances. Just like, circumstances weren't given to me, being born in Eastern Europe, quite poor to mid rich family, and having to figure out growing up on a farm, waking up early, and moving to the West for me was, a huge step. For you, it might mean, divorce, or it might mean making a family, or making finally the move to meet the love of your life. Whatever that is, be bold, be legendary, and really do your best, because people wait for you. You're unique and people need you. So until next time, my friends, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, stay legendary.